Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Hackfest. It's a real pleasure to be giving this talk today about a subject we're very passionate about. It's purple teaming. So without waiting, let's jump in. The agenda for today, we're gonna just introduce ourselves, define what actually is purple teaming. We'll then talk a little bit about the challenges with the current landscape in offensive security, but more specifically purple team. Then we're gonna jump in the very interesting topic of continuous purple teaming, and then building a security posture, which is a great concept. I'm sure you figure out that it's gonna be a management talk, but with some technical part in it. And finally with a little conclusion. So my name is Martin. I'm an offensive security senior manager at Desjardins. I pass my day in meetings, but I come from a technical job. I did several technical things before. I lead, actually I'm at the head of 5 technical team, which I really appreciate. A pentest team, reconnaissance and operational pentest team, red team, application security team, and threat modeling team, brand new team since this summer, which are awesome. So, you may have seen me at Hackfest. I was involved in Hackfest in 2010, early days. You may have heard of the War Game, or I don't know if there are some older people. Awesome. So that's one of our artifacts. And then I leaded the team. It was very great adventure. We also, I was involved with Stefan. I don't know if he's in the room, but Stefan, we did the NorthSec, if you remember, the huge Windows track where the Neurosofts company that you needed to hack and everything. Well, it was pretty fun too. On my spare time, I'm a father of 2, a woodworker, and I do love running.
Hi, I'm Dany. I'm one of the SOC manager at Desjardins also. Our team is responsible for triage, investigation, threat hunting, and part of the incident response process. I'm a master at Tetris Agenda. I mean level 15, what I call Jennifer level. She'll know what I'm talking about. And I'm a tier-less SOC strong believer. I mean, if you don't believe in tier-less SOC, come and see me after, try to change my mind. We'll have a great conversation. I'm in love with a cat lover. I eat my chicken wing with a fork. And my favorite superhero is Forrest Gump because I'm Captain Dan. So I don't like to talk that much about myself, but today I will bring an angle of manager with my experience, team builder, and also for that I would like to thank my team that are my inspiration every day, just to see them and how they work every day with so much passion. It's an honor for me to be with them.
Inspiration for this talk, I don't know if you know DerbyCon. It was a very good conference that died, unfortunately, but there was a talk in 2018 called Victor or Victim. It was a talk about purple teaming by Jason Lang and Stuart McIntosh. It was a big inspiration for me, not just for this talk, but for my management career, to be honest, because this was the first time I was seeing such a great view of how you can, fit or match red or offensive security work and blue team activities. So the main concept here, just to introduce the concept of purple teaming, is that let's say you go on the first 3 steps of the ladder. On the left, it's like a vulnerability scan, external pen test, internal pen test. You're in the prevention paradigm. So you really want to reduce the attack surface. That's what you need to start as every business. And when you start to master those 3 steps, you go on the right, and this is when you do purple teaming. You try to build detection of all the things that you cannot prevent. So it was very well explained, and yeah, that's what we're gonna talk today.
Test. Okay, that one is more sensitive. So, Martin, before we continue, that was at DerbyCon 2018, you said. I was there, and I was there the previous year. And I just would like to take a moment to have a memory for Trevor the Roach. Let's never forget Trevor. Thank you.
Nobody understand it.
Google it. Now, let's get into the subject, you know, blue, purple, red. It goes in that way because that's how we mix things. In the blue team activity, I mean, the way we see it is that it's the steady state. It's what we do every day to keep things going. I mean, the way it works is we require a lot of autonomy. The velocity must be very high, and that's what we do pretty much. It's collect, detect, triage, investigate, and response. And we try to do that very quickly, efficiently, all the time improving. And how Jared Actington from Spectre Up would say, don't clog the funnel. If you want to check that, he has a great blog on this. It's Funnel of Fidelity, and it's a great inspiration that we used in the last couple of years to really be efficient at that. Then we get to the purple team. It's a great place also to be able to not only improve detection, but also to get, well, what I mean is, yes, it's a really good place to improve detection. It's not only about putting new detection, it's also a great place to, reduce the noise, and also the analysis, they are able to see how it looks in their environment.
And I really like to use the analogy of a study. Let's say you go to school. Actually, a blue team will study every day by just and doing incidents. When you do purple team, and as it's written, it's not the name of a team. It's more the name of an activity. It's like a group study. So you add some people, you challenge how you study your things. And the red teaming is actually the exam. So you shouldn't just do exams to raise your security posture or improve. Purple team has a high velocity. You can do a lot of tests compared to red team, which require more stealthiness and more time to prepare their operations.
And you get ready for real-time attack also, real ones.
Yeah, actually red team train other things, not exactly on the controls. It's more of incident handling and things like that. Now for the challenges with the current landscape, there are a few ones. Prioritization is a big topic in management. How do we make sure that we work on the right thing? Because after that, other teams will work on your findings. So most of the prioritization we see in the, when a company do purple team, is they base it on the public data only. So let's say we test, we may simulate, wizard spider ransomware, and we'll build their TTP and we'll do tests from that. But there's a lag because first of all, you don't have the full picture. Do I say that? Whatever. We'll just skip. But prioritization just based on your public data is really not, is far from perfect. Then you have the CVSS. Vulnerabilities can use CVSS. I mean, it makes sense, even though it's really not perfect, but it does not apply to purple team at all. After that, you have the reporting, which is the favorite part of every pen tester. Actually, it takes time to write, and sometimes it's even hard to consume. So it doesn't make sense to always, and we even say that pen testing is, your job is half reporting, and that doesn't make sense for me.
And I don't want to read it anyway.
And finally, hard reports does not feed a security posture. It cannot be automated. I mean, as long as the reports will be in a PDF format, you will need a human to read it, to parse it. It doesn't make sense at all. And finally, our lovely security vendors are a bit optimistic sometimes when it's time to talk about security posture.
Are they? Just a little? Other challenges that we see, I mean, we just touch on it. I mean, results sometimes are hard to consume. I mean, TLDR has a manager on the blue team. I want to go right through to the resume, the summary, what needs to be fixed, and make sure you're able to prioritize what was in it and try to already put some effort, because you'll see later on, if there's really quick win, we might be able to get them right away in the purple teaming in a continuous way. Because as a blue teamer, we have many goals, we have many priorities, and there's the never-ending backlog incident response we have to go to. So like I said always to Martin, the purple just keep on producing great opportunity to improvements. I said, thanks, no worry, we'll just put it on the pile, but that kind of pile. So that's something that you always have to get. But we have an answer for that. It's continuous purple teaming. So we'll go through process, people, techno. Let's start with process. And the big question is, can your purple team OODA loop? OODA loop? No? No? I thought it was pretty clever when I came up with this one. Well, we'll try it again later. Please be ready, please. So the OODA model was developed by John Boyle. He was a military strategist. It was developed for a jet fighter so that they can adjust to their enemy. So pretty much he came up with observe, orient, decide, and act. So it can be applied to many things in what we do. For the purple teaming, in continuous, pretty much when you observe cyber threat intel, has to be also internal, external environment, has to be your environment. If not, it's not very helpful. And then you get a security posture. Then with that intel, you're able to orient findings, vulnerability, priorities, is it critical? And then you rapidly can go and decide. And what you're gonna prioritize, maybe you're gonna have to prioritize something else. So you have to always think about that and then act, which means let's go in production. Maybe it's going to be just a mitigation. Maybe it's going to be the full patch.
How it looks on the field, the process is very simple. One of the main key of this process is to have asynchronous process. We have 3 sub-processes here. Let's start with the red one, and actually what we require at first is to have a good source of prioritization. We could have made an entire talk on this topic. For now, we're just going to keep it simple, but main source of prioritization is your CTI, Cyber Threat Intel, Blue Team, all kind of other teams doing security, risk, and things like that. Then you need to watch what's going on the internet, blog posts, Twitter, the latest new red team tools. Doesn't mean it's the right priority for now, but at least you need to understand that there are tools being released. Incident post-mortem, so how your company is attacked is a great source of intel to do testing for purple team. Actual campaign in the wild, so do we have a bank on the other side of the street that was ransomware? If so, we may want to understand how and understand from it and defend. And finally, the security posture. To prioritize, you really need to understand your own security posture. What are our gaps? Where are we strong? Where are we weak? And this is we're gonna talk about this later, but it's a big part of prioritization. So the process starts with prioritize. Prioritize a technique, and it's pretty straightforward. You study it, you get into it, you test it. You develop procedure, then we test in lab. So always a good idea to test in laboratory. You may want to document the result at this point, but the most important result is the test in production. We use a platform called Vector by SRA. I really like their product. It's dedicated to do purple team. It's 1,000 times better than using a spreadsheet. And
million times.
And you document and you build this database of finding in a centralized place. And then Blue Team.
Yes, and I'm just going to loop back to what Martin said about being asynchronous. And this is great. This is, I think, at the base of everything that works in here. It needs to be asynchronous because for the Blue Team, might happen, like I said before, that we have to maybe have different priority at some time. You don't want your continuous purple teaming to stop because of that. And being that way, the red team can continue, and we're going to catch up eventually. There's no problem about that. Sometimes red team, they all go on vacation at the same time. Blue team cannot. So then we're going to catch up. And so pretty much how we do it is that we feed back to Vector, which is great. So you're able to document everything, have snapshot in time, and see how it was. We're able to study the technique. And then we look at how it looks in our environment. And remember, I'm a tier-less SOC believer. This is some place you can use it, because what you want to do in the purple teaming like this, you want to send a mix of your team. It's a great opportunity to also train. It's alleviate alert fatigue. So don't miss on that opportunity there. And then also, as you can see toward the right, you can adjust control right away if you can. Maybe to prevent, then to detect. You'll be able to do it very, very quickly. If you can, don't miss out on that.
Absolutely. And the third process, and not the least, bonjour.
Oh yes, please, gonna help with my voice.
You guys want a drink?
Oh, now?
Tell me when to stop.
Ça va, ça va. Toi, t'en prends pas?
Ouais.
No glass.
Cheers.
I have someone called Swag in my team, so I had a lot of practice with him. So
I was gonna say. The third process is, again, in this all asynchronous manner. The thing is, okay, we document red, the attacks, the results, but how do we mitigate? So the last process is about reviewing your gaps in teams. And by the way, we could have put many lines to put like meetings. I just try to keep this schema simple, but there's a lot of collaboration in all of this. And on the right side, yeah, the last process is about remediation. You just, on a regular basis, let's say every 2 weeks or whatever, you will take a look at what is in Vector and open gaps to the right team. People. So, a lot to say about this. Well, we could talk a lot about trust and relationship. Honestly, all this information is already on the internet. But the thing is, you're trying to have two completely different teams work together. It's not going to be like unicorns and rainbows the first time at all. It's more of a challenge. You need to work on at least 3 concepts. So consistency. When you build a plan, you keep the plan, because I mean, change really makes it harder to build trust. Then communication, more than not enough. Yeah, I mean, 2 different teams, 2 different purpose. The communication is a very important aspect. And then time, as in everything, you need time to build relationships.
yeah, and as a manager, I mean, the message and the action that you take are very, very important. You have to promote humility, and I'm going to let you in on a secret today. I mean, manager, they're not perfect, you know. Maybe you thought they were, but they're not. So as a manager, if ever, you know, sometime you're emotional or something like that, you know, it's your house at some point. You know, as a blue team in the previous talk, it was a reference to that, and I agree. So it happens sometime, but catch yourself and then make amends immediately, because you don't want to lose or maybe weeks, months, years of trust and time. You know, we say it takes time, but it can be lost really quickly. So that it's very important to keep that in mind. You know, I think it's the key. It takes time. Then, team or teams. I mean, it's a process, but what you want to do is that you want to get it in one team. What what you want to do there is like I always say to Martin, I mean, 50 shades of purple. How do you build a purple team? How do you build a purple team? And we tried many things, but one thing is for sure, you cannot have a purple team if you don't have a blue teamer in it, and you cannot either if you don't have a red teamer in it. You know, sometimes the blue teamer thinks the purple it's all blue and the red thinks it's all red, but even if you have red teamer that did some blue teamer before in their job, or vice versa, a lot of blue teamer, they're very proficient also in attack, it won't work. You won't have the commitment. It's not the real thing, and it just won't work. So what you need to do is work with what you have. It's going to change in time. It's going to change with the people you have or the project that you have. But if you want to do it continuously, I mean, you just have to make it work with what you have and be very flexible. And also, it's a very good idea that the people get to know each other on a human level. I mean, just go and do social things together.
Techno side, let's geek. Principles. You should be doing your purple team in production. That, I mean, it looks simple, but I mean, yeah, you should do your test in the production. Doesn't mean that you should test on any system. I think a good idea is to dedicate machines for that. Then the environment should be accessible by the both team. And then let's talk about the results. So the platform that we talk about, Vector, should be accessible by all team. And then we had the yellow. I don't know if you saw the pyramid of Daniel Messler, something like that. He introduced the concept of yellow, which I really like.
And Martin, before you taught me that, I never heard of yellow. So if you don't know it either, I mean, it's the people that build stuff in your enterprise or in your team, depending on the size. Because before that, when Martin put it on the pile, and then I thought that pile was all mine, and I was just not able to do it. I mean, sometimes you have to put a lake in place, sometimes you have to put a data lake, sometimes you have to put a new networking zone. I'm just a blue teamer by myself. I cannot do this. So it was a lot of pressure before we start thinking, hey, there's a yellow, also known as a fertilizer distributor.
And then APIs will rule the world. APIs is central key to have all of this automated. And of course, don't use Excel for continuous operations. I'm pretty sure you don't want to, has such a weak foundation for an important process like this. Now about tradecraft intelligence. So there's a little hack that we built recently, and I just want to share it. When you're in a team and you share knowledge, you share links, everyone do that. Every team share, oh, look at this latest red team tools, it's awesome. Great, but the intelligence is lost over time. So just by building a little bot can be a game changer. I mean, we built a little bot that instead of sending the URL to everyone, you send it to the bot. Everyone can see it, but it's getting structured in the board. So here we use GitLab, but it doesn't matter. The tool, any ticketing system would work. And yeah, so and you say, I don't know if you see the priv here, priv. So this is privilege escalation. So we put the tactic of the MITRE attack, so it's already structured in the board. So we save time when it's time to prioritize later on.
You have a laser which point in red. Well, so testing environment. One of the things that you can use is for unit testing is what we call Watchdog. They're great to start quick start, automation, and there's many open source options. But from our experience, it can be hard to maintain, and it creates a lot of noise in the environment. But it's something you can make work for sure. One thing that we're fortunate to be able to use, it's a massive reach and attack simulator. What's great about it is that it feeds from feed, from up-to-date IOCs, TTPs. It replicates exactly your production environment down to the little version that you have. So when you test a malware, for example, it's safely to do, then you know when you emulate, how your posture is, or at least toward your defense and prevention also. So toward that, it can also be used as in the purple team to develop a lot of testing also that's being done. You can use it in your BAS to make it automatically, and it helps with the problem of snapshot in time, but try to have it constantly so that if you have a regression, something stopped working, you see it right away.
We talked about vector earlier. Vector looks like this. You build your campaign, your assessments, you have all your results. It's very flexible. You can import things from JSON. You have an API. You can automate a lot of things. And my favorite view is this one. So for every test you do, you have the red team view. So the red team will document its detail, the technique, the MITRE attack ID. You even have this play button that saves the timestamp, so the blue team doesn't have to check in the entire history of logs.
Yeah, and I heard from the crowd, what do you use if you don't use Excel? Take a look at Vector for sure.
Yeah, it's free. It's from GitHub. I mean, it's not open source, but it's free. And honestly, it's very easy to run. On the right side, you have the blue team side, so you document all your details, the detection, what happened. You can even associate the security tools involved in the detection, so it's very interesting to have intelligence after that. You can have reporting views. This is a heat map, so you can see all kind of things based on your purple team exercise. And then you have another reporting view, because we're managers. We need KPIs. Well, so okay, but what can we do with that? Oh, we've got a pie chart. I love colors. Not detected 52%. Okay, it's really a start. By the way, I'm not criticizing. It's not bad, but it's incomplete. You cannot answer many questions just with a pie chart.
Yeah, and at this stage, I mean, not detected, in a purple team, maybe it's just there's some analytics that's going to catch up later on with more indicators. So you keep that in mind for not detected at this stage.
Then we go in this side track of building a security posture. We talk a lot about security posture, and there is an intimate link. I'm not sure it's the right word, but it's very linked to continuous purple teaming. And so one of the C-level questions regarding security is actually, if not the hardest one, is what is our next best move? It's not an easy question to answer, which we try to tackle. And we're going to show some experiments with well, you'll see, but we try to answer this question, and I would really like to have discussion with people more brilliant than me after this talk and share. And I'm sure I'm not the first one to tackle this question. What is our next best move? It's kind of hard.
See, humility in progress, but it's a really great start, Martin. Don't be so shy.
All right, the quest of building a living security posture. There are even more challenges than the early ones. So we need to measure our progression. How do we do that? What is our baseline? So, I mean, we're trying to defend our organization against what? How do we define good enough? So let's say just phishing is the perfect example. Should we invest phishing forever because it's the #1 technique for initial access? There might be other things we need to do. So defining good enough is very important. How do we update it in real time? Not through PDF, like not through reports. And what the hell is a security posture actually? I don't know if you don't. I'm not sure we have the same definition. Well, let's define it. A security posture is going to be an organization's strength, like it's your readiness against an attack. More precisely, it's how you can predict, prevent, detect, and respond to ever-changing cyber threat. And ever-changing is very important because now, I mean, it's the ransomware era, but it's going to be maybe something else later, we don't know. So we need to adapt. What is our MVP? I want it to be irrefutable. More precisely, I would like if all my hacker data or expert data, so all of this is factual. It has to fit on a single page because a dashboard for managers fit on a single page. We need to favor numbers, not text. We need colors because managers love colors. Support ever-changing cyber threats, and we need to be able to answer where are we good and where are we bad. And the solution for that we tried, and this is experimental, by the way, but we're gonna use the MITRE Attack Navigator with a few hacks. What is the Attack Navigator? Just to make sure we're on the same page, the concept of TTP stands for tactic, technique, and procedure. So a tactic is a column in the matrix. A technique is a cell in this matrix, and the procedure is any way you can achieve the technique. So the board is very big, and it's from left to right. It's like a kill chain. So the attacker typically start on the left and go to the right. So and there is this concept of threat actor in this project. So you can just select the threat actor, and they will tell you what the technique are used by this threat actor, but it's very high level. And you can imagine all the blue cells as a chain, so from left to right. Very important to understand that the difference between technique and procedure, because we're gonna use it. A technique is the what and the procedure is the how. So let's have a little example. There's a technique called phishing in the MITRE ATT&CK framework. But how can you do phishing? There are thousands of ways to do phishing. You can use an invalid DKIM if you're a kind of script kiddie. You can use a domain with a higher reputation, low reputation. You can do phishing from your own organization. And all of these details will affect detection, of course. So, yeah. For this experiment, we'll need 3 fields. The first is the result. So every test that we do, we will put a result from a scale from 0 to 3. Let's say blocked means that the attack was reduced, the attack surface, was reduced. And not log is that we don't even have visibility, so it might be a problem. Expected result, that is key to build gaps.
I mean, Martin, you're talking about being realistic, and then you have the sophistication level. I mean, every time we do reds, I mean, every time we stop you, that must have been God, because the internal team, red team, is very, very good, and then they always come back, no, that was script kiddies. I was like, okay, how do you, what can you do about that, Martin?
We're gonna answer this question later, but I agree it's a good question. But actually, yeah, just to finish on the expected results, it's the same scale, and the thing is that you put all your experts and you figure out what is our expectation. And by the way, you can use your vendor's famous speech, like, oh, we were detecting mimikatz and all kind of stuff. Okay, great. So let's put it as an expected result for our EDR, for instance. And this will build gaps after that. And the sophistication level is just a little metric, very easy to use. By the way, it's from the STIX 2.1. It's a scale that already documented, but it will just help vulgarize, you know, the ease of use of the attack technique, the accessibility of the test that you're doing, and it really help vulgarize to C-level people.
Yeah, and it seems to Martin that for you, from 1 to 5, it's always script kiddies.
It's actually not, but yeah, on the scale, you know, 6 and 7 is like 0 days. So technically, a red team should be between 1 and 5, technically.
And the point is not only sophistication that's important here.
Yep. Okay, then we need other fields. A gap, how do we define a gap? Well, let's say a gap is the expected result minus the result. So here we're phishing, again, some very simple example. Phishing using an invalid DKIM is very not sophisticated, but the expected result is blocked because I expect my security controls to block any domain that, the email should not reach the user if the DKIM is not valid. But let's say you do phishing with a signed binary from a compromised third party. Do we really expect this to detect it or block it the first time? Of course not. So our expected result is logged. And having, trying to tackle this problem is not our top priority. And this is what we're trying to build with a security posture. We try to build our priority list. Then we're gonna add another dimension, the weighted gaps, because all techniques are not born equal in the MITRE attack. Here's a very simple example with phishing. Let's compare it to hardware additions. Let's say you want to protect yourself against, ransomware. Chances are higher that you're gonna be receiving attacks from phishing, not exactly from a rubber ducky. I'm not saying that rubber ducky attack is not important. I'm just saying that the weight is different between those two techniques, and we need to see that in our security posture.
And that's the way that you could put in place the very famous rubber ducky.
And the glue of all of this is CI/CD. So I played with Attack Navigator. It's so simple. It's just JSON files that you fill and load. So you can build some pipeline, and that was my first experiment with CI/CD, and since then it changed my life. So you just have to build a script that will pull data from vector. You take this data, you generate JSON files that are compatible with the Attack Navigator, and from there you can build any kind of view that you want based on factual data. And let's see what it looks like. This is just an example with random data, but let's say you build a map like this based on all your purple team tests, and the green would mean, okay, we tested, but we didn't find any gaps. Yellow, orange, and red means higher gaps. So the red might mean that you have real priority there. But it's not enough, because all techniques are not born equal. So the weighted gaps is even more interesting. Let's add this dimension of priority list. So you based on the priority, whatever.
Nothing.
Yeah. So this is the other dimension again, I'm not going to repeat, but all techniques are not born equal. So the red here means an even more important priority. And there is this question of where are our gaps, Martin? Cool.
And I think what you meant is it needs to be aligned to your environment.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the weighted gaps, let's go back. You customize it to your own environment. Every company is different, and you have the right to say, oh, I think phishing is more important than the other one. It's up to you. So the gaps, the MITRE attack framework has a mouse over feature. You just have to fill metadata field. It's extremely easy to use, and you can use it to see what the tests were performed to say that we have a gap, for instance. And it makes it a very good framework to use to prioritize after that. And we talk about sophistication. Sophistication is even more interesting, especially when you talk to higher management. Sophistication equal 1, we'll see 3 slides there, 1, 2, 3, just example of what it could look like. So the first, let's say you do basic test, real script kiddie test, like user level, anyone can do it. Okay, we have a few gaps, but as you go to 2 and 3, your posture would change because your tests are different, are more sophisticated, and this is something we figure out can be very interesting.
Yeah, and remember API, continuous purple teaming. So the aim here is that this posture is getting updated very often. Has to be up-to-date view of your environment. Now, the ultimate goal, be ready, is to improve the security posture. All right? Are you ready? Okay, so does your purple team is ready to hoodoo loop? Come on, I'm gonna do another one. it's only today. You know, you're never gonna see me that again. So, does your purple team is ready to hoot a loop? Okay, much better, thank you. I thought it was clever when I came up with this one, but we're gonna have to rethink about that one. So pretty much, I mean, the shorter loops will win. Can you identify the gap faster than the attacker? Can you adjust faster than your opponent? How can you disrupt their OODA loop? So how it's represented here, you see the loop, you know, the red one, and then the purple one, that's how you want to see it, because it's like a track and field. It's much faster to be in the inside loop. You know, you're gonna get to fixing before you get attacked. And with OODA loop, you can have OODA loop into OODA loop into OODA loop. You know, it's infinite. But very important is that you have to be aligned with your attacker. If you're looping by yourself somewhere and there's no attacker, you're wasting your time and maybe you're getting owned, you know? So that's how you have to think about this. And that's before, you know, you go observe and then again decide and act very quickly. A good example that's not purple was Log4j. I mean, when it came out, very quickly, you know, you have CTI people, they were looking at everything's going on and there was new stuff, you know, new version, every seems 15 minutes. Then what you have to do is really quickly analyze it, look at it, what can be done, maybe mitigation. That's how you disrupt the OODA loop of your attacker. You know, you go put something just to slow him down. It gives you time to do correct fix. That's a way to do it. But the ultimate goal is always to get there before your attacker, before you're being seen also as an easy prey. Also, that's one way to slow down your attacker. You can also get into a more advanced concept like deception, like active defense, but pretty much I hope this is something that you get into a philosophy. When you do stuff, it has to be aligned. You have to prioritize the right thing. And with Purple Team, that's a great way to go and be on the right stuff and get it to production as fast as you can.
Thank you, everyone. Do we have time for questions? No questions.
Thank you very much, and we hope that it will ignite some idea. Thank you.